The bright studio lights of BBC Sunday Live illuminated the polished glass floor as technicians hurried around with last-minute adjustments. Today's show was already trending hours before it aired. The reason? Meghan Markle was appearing for a rare, live, unfiltered interview. Producers expected a calm, diplomatic conversation. But deep inside the control room, director Sam Whitfield felt an uneasy flutter. "Please, just let this run smoothly," he muttered as he watched the monitor. Meghan arrived early, dressed in a simple cream blazer and soft makeup that made her look both elegant and determined. Her team had briefed her, keep the tone professional, avoid controversies, focus on upcoming projects. But Meghan knew this interview wouldn't be gentle. Not with Laura Kuenssberg. Laura was known for her sharp questions, especially when interviewing public figures who preferred carefully curated narratives. She respected Meghan's accomplishments, but she wasn't interested in celebrity gloss. She wanted answers, direct ones. The studio audience settled in, microphones checked, the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, live. Laura smiled professionally. "Good morning, and welcome to Sunday Live. Our guest today is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, actress, philanthropist, and producer." Meghan returned the smile politely. "Thank you for having me." For the first few minutes, the conversation was steady. Her new documentary, the charity work in Rwanda, her children's book project. Meghan relaxed slightly. Maybe this wouldn't be a battle after all. Then Laura leaned forward. "Meghan, many viewers have asked why you and Prince Harry continue to speak publicly about the royal family while also insisting on privacy. How do you reconcile those two things?" The air tightened instantly. Meghan blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift. "I think there's a misunderstanding," she replied carefully. "We speak about our experiences because they shaped our lives, but that doesn't cancel our right to personal boundaries." Laura nodded, but her tone sharpened. "But critics say your interviews and Netflix projects keep revisiting the same issues. Some call it monetizing controversy. What would you say to them?" Meghan inhaled slowly, her posture stiffening. "Laura, I share my truth. I don't control what critics choose to label it." The control room lights flickered as Sam leaned closer to the monitor. "Here we go," he whispered. Laura pressed again. "Is it really your truth, or is it selective storytelling? Your father, your sister, former palace staff, they all claim." Meghan cut her off, irritation flashing in her eyes. "Laura, with respect, you're repeating tabloid narratives. I'm here to talk about meaningful work, not to feed gossip." The temperature in the studio seemed to spike. A few audience members shifted uncomfortably. Laura didn't back down. "It's not gossip when it comes from official statements and interviews. Are you saying every critic is lying?" Meghan exhaled, visibly frustrated. "I'm saying the British media has an obsession with twisting everything I do. And this line of questioning, honestly, it proves exactly what I mean." A murmur spread through the audience. Sam rubbed his forehead. They'd rehearsed a dozen scenarios, but not this one. Laura kept her voice steady. "It's my job to ask what the public wants to know. You've built a global brand around openness and transparency. So why avoid certain questions?" Meghan leaned forward, tone suddenly sharper. "Because your questions are framed to provoke, not inform." Gasps broke out. The tension snapped into open confrontation. Laura tried maintaining composure, but Meghan's accusation struck hard. "I think that's unfair," she said. "I'm simply doing journalism." "No," Meghan shot back. "You're doing sensationalism." The producers froze. On live television, this was chaos, dangerous, unpredictable, and impossible to edit. Laura narrowed her eyes. "If you're unwilling to answer, viewers will make their own judgments." Meghan crossed her arms. "Viewers are smart enough to see when someone is trying to corner a guest." The argument grew louder, voices overlapping, neither willing to step back. Meghan's team looked horrified off camera. The studio audience watched with wide eyes, unsure whether to intervene or stay silent. Sam finally snapped into action. "Cut her mic! Cut her mic!" he shouted. The sound engineer hesitated. This was Meghan Markle, after all, but Sam repeated, "Do it." Meghan's voice suddenly went silent, even though her lips still moved. Confusion washed across her face. Laura cleared her throat awkwardly, realizing something had shifted. "We seem to be experiencing technical issues," she said to the camera. Two security staff quietly approached Meghan's seat. She looked at them, then at the control room window. "You're removing me. Really?" she said, her voice barely audible but her expression unmistakably furious. The guards gestured politely but firmly. Meghan stood up slowly, adjusting her blazer, eyes blazing with indignation. "This is unbelievable," she said. "I came here in good faith." Laura watched silently, stunned as Meghan was escorted off the stage, on live television. The audience whispered, cameras stayed rolling, and the entire nation gasped in shock. Sam sank into his chair, shaking his head. "This is going to explode online." And explode it did. Meghan was escorted through the narrow corridor behind the studio, heels clicking sharply against the floor. The producers expected her to storm out, refuse interviews for years, maybe post a furious message online. But Meghan didn't do any of that. She stopped, right outside the emergency exit door. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with anger so sharp it almost felt cold. An assistant tried offering her a bottle of water, but she waved it away. "You cut my mic," she whispered, almost to herself. "Live TV. You cut my mic." Back inside the studio, Laura Kuenssberg sat frozen behind her desk. Her earpiece buzzed with frantic voices. "Laura, keep going. Move to the next segment. Don't mention Meghan, don't escalate anything." Laura swallowed. She'd handled tense interviews before, but nothing like this. She could feel the shock still swirling among the audience, their eyes darting between her and the empty chair. And then came the worst news. #Laura vs Meghan was trending #1 on Twitter, within 4 minutes. Meanwhile, Meghan took a slow breath, forcing her heartbeat down. "No," she said softly, turning to the 2 security officers. "I'm not leaving like this." Before they could respond, Meghan pulled out her phone and marched back toward the main hallway. Her team scurried behind her, whispering urgently. "Meghan, please, calm down. They will spin this, just let us handle it. This will get worse if." She ignored all of them. When she reached the backstage waiting area, she stopped again. Through the glass window, she could see Laura continuing the show, moving into a political segment while trying to mask the tension still hanging in the air. Meghan stared at her for a long moment. Then she made a decision. "Get me an empty room," she told her assistant. Now, within minutes, Meghan was seated inside a small, unused interview studio. A soft light was already on, a neutral background ready behind her. She fixed her hair, straightened her blazer, and opened the front camera on her phone. "Are you sure?" her publicist whispered nervously. Meghan didn't hesitate. "Yes." She pressed record. Her voice was steady, too steady. "This morning, I went on Sunday Live for what I believed would be a fair interview." She explained everything. Every provocative question. Every interruption. Every moment Laura pushed her toward a narrative she refused to accept. Then she said the line that would send shockwaves through both the BBC and the internet. "They didn't like my answers, so they silenced me, literally. They cut my microphone on live television." Her team gasped. But Meghan continued. "And then they escorted me off the stage as if I were a threat. I have dealt with many difficult interviews in my life, but never have I been treated like that. Viewers deserve transparency. So here I am, telling you the truth." She ended the recording, exhaled sharply, and uploaded it instantly. Within 90 seconds, it had over 600,000 views. Within 15 minutes, it hit 5.2 million. The BBC press office wasn't prepared. Their phones rang non-stop. News outlets scrambled to report both sides. Commentators filled their screens, arguing whether Meghan was right or wrong. By the time Meghan left the building, photographers had already gathered outside like an army of flashlights. But Meghan wasn't hiding. She stepped out confidently, head held high. One reporter shouted, "Meghan, do you regret walking out of the interview?" She paused, turned slightly, and answered with a calm, devastating smile. "I didn't walk out. I was removed." The photos captured that moment perfectly, the cold determination in her eyes, the sting of humiliation turned into steel. Later that evening, Laura Kuenssberg sat alone in her office, scrolling through headlines. Meghan Markle speaks out. "They silenced me." BBC crisis. Did they cut Meghan's mic? Laura under fire for hostile interview. For the first time in her career, Laura felt her confidence falter. She replayed the interview again and again. Had she been too harsh? Too insistent? Had she crossed the line? Meanwhile, Sam, the director, faced his own nightmare: internal investigations, angry executives, and a flood of complaints. But Meghan, she was at home in Montecito by nightfall, watching the global conversation unfold. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Celebrities tweeting support, journalists demanding interviews, royal commentators whispering that this could ignite a new scandal. Harry sat beside her on the sofa. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Meghan leaned her head on his shoulder. "Today was ugly," she admitted. "But maybe it needed to happen." Harry looked at her carefully. "What now?" Meghan closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with quiet resolve. "Now, I speak louder.